1871, Queensland had a visit from two veritable giants in their own respect. One, a giant of the literary world, and the other, just a really, really tall guy. But while one of these human monoliths would be regarded with love and endearment, the other would wind up broadly scorned by the majority of his host state.
One of the visitors was Anthony Trollope, a famous and prolific English novelist typical of the Victorian era. His grandfather was the sixth son of Sir Thomas Trollope, 4th Baronet, and his own grandsons would inherit the baronetcy. Now, Trollope wrote his first novels when he was a post office inspector in Ireland, occasionally getting ideas by reading what was in the lost letter box. In the 1860s, he made a postal history by introducing the pillar box or mailboxes to the world. In the meantime, his novels brought great success, so much so that Trollope became a household name.
That was historian Harold Peacock from the History Out There blog, who stands at a very respectable 6'3", but towers like a spire of sagacity and savoir-faire in the field of antiquarian inquiry. Needless to say, Trollope was kind of a big deal in the Victorian era. He was received in Queensland in the hoity-toity manner one might expect for someone of his stature. In Brisbane, he was guest of Australia's first Chief Justice. In Ipswich, he was welcomed by Alderman William Voles, before he and his retinue rode off via Cunningham's Gap to the Darling Downs.
Now, meanwhile, back in Ipswich at the very same time was a giant by the name of Zhang Shishui, or Chang the Chinese giant. Now, he was over 8 feet tall, or around 2.5 metres, and travelled the world making public appearances.
Unlike many of the sideshow performers of the Victorian era who were exploited as mere curiosities, Chang managed his career with remarkable agency, intellect and dignity. He was a brilliant linguist, reportedly mastering 10 languages including English, French, German and Spanish, and would delight crowds during his shows by speaking with them fluently in their native tongue. When legendary American showman P.T. Barnum lured him to the United States, he offered him a staggering salary of $500 a month, the equivalent of about 25,000 Australian dollars per month in today's money.
Chang and Trollope were competing for newspaper space at the time, and while Trollope was entertained by the Chief Justice and founders of the colony, Chang the Chinese giant swooned the common townsfolk with his suavely told stories from China. Chang wowed the town at the Ipswich School of Arts, charging 2 shillings a head and attracting hundreds of visitors a night. He was an irresistible attraction at 24 years old and handsome with natural charm and refinement. He walked among his audience, working the crowd, describing Chinese collectibles, which of course were for sale, all the while talking and laughing in a really pleasant manner.
Queensland fell in love with Chang the Giant. The same cannot be said for that other touring foreigner who'd been vying for column space in the local rags.
After Trollope's visit, he wrote a travel guide. He accurately noted that Queensland hated New South Wales and that New South Wales hated Victoria. But regards Ipswich, he alienated the whole population. He commented on Ipswich's post office, 2 or 3 businesses, and what he described as the usual assortment of dull, rectangular streets, which he said prevented the town from ever looking more than bland. And the Darling Downs, he said not a drop of rain had fallen when he started to the Downs and not a drop had fallen when he left. And so he saw the district as either brown with drought or black with fire. In short, he said the Downs was ugly.
As you might imagine, his pummeling of parochial pride went down like a cup of cold sick. But he did have one nice thing to say.
Aloof and pandering to the political class that hosted him, Trollope said the only redeeming feature of Ipswich was that it was represented by 3 politicians in Parliament, as opposed to Rockhampton, a city of the same size, but it only had 1. That's right. But one good thing Trollope said about Ipswich was its oversupply of politicians.
Chang, meanwhile, was lauded everywhere he went. According to one journalist during that tour, those who were under the expectation that they were to see a more vulgar exhibition of such a giant as would be exhibited at a Richardson's show must have been agreeably disappointed, for, as we before hinted, Chang is evidently a gentleman of refinement and education.
So in this 1871 popularity contest with the endearing Chang, the Chinese giant, Trollope was universally despised and finished a very distant second. The giant, he came out well on top and was super popular.